Please join me in a prayer. Divine and gracious Spirit, it is a wonderful time of our week to be able to set aside just a short hour for those in the spirit world to draw very closely to us. In strange, unprecedented times, we are very aware there are many lonely people throughout our world. But thanks to the teaching of spiritualism, we know that we are never alone, that those we have loved and thought we had lost are still with us, that friends of our spiritual community throughout the world can reach out with their thoughts and we can think our thoughts and blend together in doing so. What a lot of spiritualists we have to be grateful for. In this greater, wider world, we know that the healing that we can send individually from our own homes in our own country can reach somebody the other side of the world. If we have a contact with somebody the other side of the world, we can feel that loving energy as closely as if the two people, one in the physical world, one in the spiritual, are together in the same room. There is no distance, no religion, no colour, no creed that can separate us as human beings, each from the other. And for all those people who are struggling with whatever their struggle is this night, we ask that the spiritual healers will take love and healing from us to them. As we blend together for this time, as we have set aside time for ourselves, for our own spiritual communion, with those who teach and inspire us from the other world, and with our own loved ones, our animals, anything and anybody we have ever known and loved can blend with us during this time. And our teachings show to us that those in the spirit world are often waiting for us just to facilitate this time. And so what gratitude we can have now to those of the pioneers of this movement, many of whom lived through a terrible plague way back in the early 1900s. Some people liken it to what is happening today, but they survived. And in their survival, spiritualism became a very, very great movement, a very great religion. And to those pioneers this night, we say thank you so much for providing us with a foundation and a truth upon which we can stand. So our 7 principles are our guidelines, not rules, not regulations, but offered to us by those loving people within the spirit world who care about all of humanity. And for those of us who found our way into a spiritualist church, we will ever be grateful to those pioneers and ask at this time that when we can all be together again, the doors to our churches will be flung open wide and people will come once again within our churches to find their truth of life after death, to find that reconnection with their loved ones, to receive healing, and above anything else, to find that spiritual family, which many of them are lacking at this time. To all those who are grieving the loss of a loved one, who were not able to be with them at the end of their life, whether it was COVID or any other condition, we say a special prayer. And we ask them to know that there were loved ones waiting to take their loved one back home into the spirit world. Everything is always in its right order, but as human people with human emotions, we don't always see it. Let us simply thank our Father God this night for all the blessings we have, for the people we have known, whether they're in this world or the next world, and in the absolute secure knowledge that one day we will be reunited with them. We ask that during this service, we will feel the presence individually of our loved ones. We ask that our loved ones will step forward and will wish to share time with us this night. And we ask simply now that our loved ones will just feel our presence and how much we care about them. We ask simply now that our helpers this night will be the highest and the best, for we wish only the truth to be known. Amen. I think the last time I did an SNUI service, I read this out. I had to print it off again this morning because my paperwork is hidden everywhere, all over my house. I've been in 2 months and I've got 150 boxes to unpack. But it's one of my favourite ever readings. It's by a lady called Ella Wheeler Wilcox, and it was written at the beginning of the 1900s, unbelievably. And her poetry is quite exquisite. She must have been a forerunner for the modern emancipated woman, I think. And sometimes you read it and she could be talking about things that are happening in our world today, all those years later. So it's called Whatever Is Best. I know as my life grows older and my eyes have clearer sight, that under each wrong somewhere there lies the root of right, that each sorrow has its purpose, by the sorrowing often unguessed, but as sure as the sun brings morning, whatever is best. I know that each sinful action, as sure as the night brings shade, is somewhere, sometimes punished, though the hour is long delayed. I know that the soul is aided, sometimes by the heart's unrest, and to grow means often to suffer, but whatever is best. I know there are no errors in the great eternal plan, and all things work together for the final good of man. And I know when my soul speeds onward in its grand eternal quest, I shall say as I look earthward, whatever is best. Thank you for listening to that. I think to me it says everything about what's happening at the moment. We seem to have come into a blame culture. I hear a lot of people blaming everybody and everything, the politicians, the scientists, everybody else for everything going wrong. And that just seems to say it all to me. And I think I stopped blaming everything and everybody else when I came into spiritualism, because everything about spiritualism has taught me everything is in God's order. Everything is part of the divine plan somewhere. We're not being punished when things go wrong. It's an opportunity to learn something. I've been in this movement now for 40 years, and I think it's been my salvation, because I was always looking for something and somebody else to blame when things went wrong. Or I would often blame myself, which I think is probably the most stupid thing we ever do, don't we? Something happens, it's my fault, I should have done things differently. Somebody has died, if I'd have been there with them, it wouldn't have happened. And so many times we do this and we punish ourselves. And then sometimes we get a little message, don't we, from spirit, maybe from another person, maybe in our own head. You did your best. Nothing else could be done. And what a great relief for your soul when you start to learn that lesson bit by bit. I'm not being punished. I just had something to learn. To me, it's the most amazing thing. And it reflects, as I was listening to that song, I've done 2 readings this morning and then had a sleep, because I always have a sleep before I work. But there was a lady online on the internet, and I am finding it more and more amazing that as loved ones do come, the power and the energy of the spirit person is as strong as if their loved one is here in the room with me. And even that people who are having readings say they can feel it. They can feel the love manifesting. So I think we're learning a lot more about spirit, and that we're just, as mediums, a very, very small part of it. We've always known they were the energy and the power. This dear lady and her lovely, lovely husband, who wasn't part of the sitting, lost their only son 10 months ago. He was 30 years of age, and he just literally died with some embolism. Nothing could have been done. And the last thing she saw was her boy being taken away on a stretcher in the middle of the night. And I said to her, I can't say this to people who've lost other children, but still have some children. But I do think it's harder for those who lose their only child. And I know a lot of people who have, because they don't suddenly have a reason to get up in the morning. They don't suddenly have somebody who may need them. And they look for something and somebody to blame. And interesting, you see, that was a large part of her reading. Nothing could have been done. It was not known in advance. He would not have liked to have had something happen to him and then revived, and then to have had no quality of life. He was an amazingly upbeat, lovely, popular young man who just took everything as it happened, and luckily, as part of the evidence, managed to make this deeply grieving mum laugh and smile when we got past the death process, and he was naughty and he teased her and he adored her. And little by little, she cried, and I saw her face change. And I did a workshop for the Journey Within in New Jersey at the weekend. And that also was about the power of the evidential message. And, you know, I believe every religion has something for the people who are seeking the truth of whatever God is, whatever universal law is. But I know that for me, spiritualism became my sanity when I had my messages from those in the spirit world, when I knew that they who had loved me still did do so, when I was told if you sit quietly for a while and talk to them, you will be able to connect with them. When people who were too young, they say, to die, died. And I would scream and shout when I was younger, how can this happen? Who's allowed it? Whose fault is it? What do I do about it? All those things. There is no understanding why a 3-year-old little boy should die, or a 30-year-old son. And for parents who've lost a child, and some of you may have done so, there's nothing to put in its place ever. You cannot replace a child, and it just is too hard. So at least that lady had comfort this morning. And I would like to offer you some words that my voice gave to me a long time ago. And often I ask it of people, and especially in this case, I didn't ask it of the lady. I said, I want you to do something, please, when this sitting is over, this reading is over. I want to ask you to ask your husband a question, and I want you to look him in the eye when you get the answer. And she said, okay. I said, I want you to ask him, would he rather never have had your son in his life? Because, of course, then he wouldn't have this pain now of the loss. And she wrote to me just as I was coming online, and she said, I asked him the question. The answer was exactly as you said. No, I would not have missed having him. Even though I hurt so much now, I would have wanted him still to be in our lives. So an amazing thing. And where does a couple go when their only child has died and they've really nothing? They've got to fight for something to live for. And that's where our spiritualism and the support in our churches and the healing we offer and the messages of comfort we can give become such a strong foundation. And I hope, and I really do pray very hard, everybody, that all our churches and our centres will open again as soon as we can all be together. Because I think in people's isolation now, more and more people are desperate to have this contact with the spirit world. And I admire anybody who's putting together situations like this so that people can reach out to spirit and still receive that communication, still feel that there is that lifeline. Because I do believe our messages, our philosophical talks, our songs are a lifeline from those in the spirit world to us. It's not always about us, is it? It's not always about us needing a message. And I knew the joy that that boy to me, because I'm old, in the spirit world felt this morning. He needed to tell his mum he was all right, because he was a good boy. And if he was in this world now and he went on a long journey, his mum would probably always say, you let me know that you're safe when you get there. So he made his telephone call back to his mum today to say that he loved her. He was still with her. He gave her pieces of evidence of things that are happening around their life now. He gave her advice on health and other issues and teased her. And little by little, you could feel that she really did feel he was around. And you know, I think part of the greater part of some of the messages we can give that bring the greatest healing are when people who don't know anything about spirit or the afterlife are feeling their loved ones around and feel its imagination, or just imagine that. And there's the spirit person so frustrated saying, I'm not imagination, I am your love. I was part of your life. And we did love each other. I am still around. And so we facilitate that, everybody, on behalf of those in the spirit world. And we should remember it is their need more than ours. We need it to comfort ourselves, to help us get along with our lives. But if we didn't have our churches, if our pioneers hadn't fought so hard, if there weren't mediums and healers and people who cared, where would those spirit people be able to go to get across this message? I am alive. Whatever happened in my life was best. Here I am with my aunt, my grandma, your uncle, who I never met. We are all together. And suddenly the bereaved person starts to build a picture that there is another family in the spirit world. And sometimes in a sort of dream state, they can visit. Or maybe the soul of the living person can visit the spirit world. And I said to the lady, it's a funny thing to say, I said, perhaps you could think that at his age, 30, maybe he would have chosen to go and live in a foreign country. And bereaved parents particularly want to know, where are my kids? That's as simple as that. And I said, perhaps you could think he's living in Australia and you can have a phone call periodically with him, and that will make you know that he is all right again. And these things were accepted. That didn't come out of my brain. I'm not clever enough to think that. It came under the purest inspiration from the spirit world, knowing what that lady needed. But I thank God every day that the spirit world rescued me and showed me that I have these gifts. And to those of you who are not sure if you've got spiritual gifts that can help other people, just try, fight for it. If you only ever in your lifetime help one person, if there is only one time that you don't give an evidential message, but you say words to somebody and they say, oh, how did you know that I needed to hear that just now? Spirit works in very mysterious ways. The God power is very, very strong in our lives. Let's reach out to all the people who need it at this time and just let them know there is a world that interacts with ours. One day we'll go home and we'll know it for sure. And in the meantime, we must bring this truth to people in our world. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let us honour those in the spirit world now who worked so hard for us tonight and say, dear Father God, may we thank you for this opportunity once again of being together. We're privileged to know those in the spirit world still love us, still help us in our daily lives. And we know beyond any shadow of doubt when we go home, they will be there waiting for us. We can progress together. Let us always understand that whatever is best in our lives. That our Father God offers no punishment, merely opportunities. And let us understand as spiritualists, each one of us has the right to reach out to those healers in the spirit world, to ask for healing for ourselves in our times of sadness, loneliness, or illness, as well as asking for help for other people. So we simply say now once again, thank you, Father God, for all the blessings we have in our world. And may we simply ask now as we go our separate ways, that we should be guarded, guided, protected, and loved until we meet again. Amen.